All right, so we looked really good out there tonight. Game wrapped up maybe 10 minutes ago, 48-17, and we looked good. Most importantly, if you're trying to look at this game and find something to take away from it, it would probably just be the fact that our depth looks better than it has in 2-3 years. And if you remember the depth that this team had when they won the Super Bowl, when they went to the Super Bowl, those 2 years, we were missing that the last couple of years, and I think it brought everything about this team's overall performance down a little bit. So really, really good to see that. Um, if you're going to try to break things down on a more detailed level, what are you going to take away from a game like tonight where you looked really good for the most part, and it was almost entirely backups who played? So let's start with the offense. You saw very little of Russell, and he looked fine for the one drive that you got him. You're looking at that backup quarterback spot and two guys who played pretty good. And I know we need a backup quarterback. We have to carry somebody. So I've been thinking about this. I was thinking about it when I was watching this game. Both guys played good tonight. Boykin probably made more plays, but you can see it in his game. He has some really, really bad plays in his arsenal. He has the terrible interceptions. He has the botched handoff. He has the botched snap. He has those plays that are just unacceptable at the NFL level. I mean, obviously, players make mistakes, but Boykin is the guy who can make the mistakes you really can't deal with. But the other side of that is he has a lot of really big plays in him. He has the 40-yard passing plays. He can scramble for 40-yard gains. He has that stuff in him as well. It's the high-risk, high-reward thing. But then you have Austin Davis, who's a veteran, who started in the NFL, but who, according to everything that I've heard, looks like dog shit in practice. So I don't know. It's going to be a really interesting debate that gets decided over the next couple weeks here. Obviously, Boykin's the favorite because he was the backup last year, and assuming that there isn't going to be any lingering legal problems with him, you have to figure he's the favorite. But watching this game tonight, I was really paying attention to that, and both guys made a good argument. And Boykin, even as he was making some really good plays in this game, he was hitting Kenny Lawler for a great touchdown. He ran for a touchdown. He hit some other big plays down the field. He's got the bad pick. He had the underthrow that Casey Williams saved him on. He mishandled the ball on a running play where he accidentally hit the fullback on his way back to the running back. So you still see those things in his game, and you're like, if he could just make normal mistakes, it would be fine, but he's not there yet. So that's the quarterbacks. Running backs, we might have like 5 running backs on this team who honestly often look better than Eddie Lacy. And Eddie Lacy's the guy who's making the guaranteed money. So, yeah, I don't know how to feel about that, guys. I know Mike Davis, who looked really good tonight. I was really impressed with Mike Davis, who's playing against backups. I know, honestly, if you're being honest, Alex Collins did not look good tonight, so you would take him out of it. I know Chris Carson was playing against backups, but we have a lot of good running backs on this team. None of them are great, though, and it's really kind of an awkward situation where I feel like all of these guys, or most of these guys at least, are good enough to make the team, but most of them can't, and I don't necessarily love any of them except for Rawls, who gets hurt a lot. So watching tonight, I was like, Chris Carson looks good. I know the numbers are not the best, but if you watched him play, he looked really good out there. Mike Davis looked really good out there. I just don't see how these guys can make the team. So you're watching these guys and you're trying to get excited about it, and of course you are. It's fun to watch a guy like Chris Carson, a 7th-round pick, come out of nowhere, but I was just thinking about it. It's tough to see these guys actually making the roster, and it's tough to see them falling through to the practice squad. I think Mike Davis would probably make another NFL roster if we let him go, so it's one of those things where somebody's going to be getting a pretty good player off of our cut list. Receivers, wow. Bad news here. One of the few bad things I can take away from this game. Paul Richardson comes in, makes a great catch down the sideline for the biggest play of the first-team offense's day, and hurts his shoulder, and apparently it's in a sling. And if you know anything about Paul Richardson's injury history, you know that it's not good. Like, it's not definitely bad, but it's definitely not good. And you have to be concerned about his availability even a month from now. So, yeah, that was not great. That was the worst thing that I saw tonight for sure. It was one of the only bad things I saw tonight. But good news, a dude who could take his place for at least a little while made himself evident tonight. Casey Williams, I rooted for him for many years at the University of Washington. Now maybe I'll get to root for him as a Seahawk because he was making difficult catches, jump balls, highly contested, down the sideline, and he looked good out there. I know he was playing against backups, but some of the things that he was displaying out there tonight were things that transcend the defender that you're playing against. He showed the ability to go up and get it. He showed the ability to make plays down the field, down the sideline. And one of those catches, I'm pretty sure he landed out of bounds, and for some reason it didn't get overturned. But what can you say about the game that he had, even if you factor that in? Even if you take away that catch, it was still a great play by him to even get close to bringing that in. So, you know, close the door, open the window. Paul Richardson, we'll see. Hopefully we get some good news on that tomorrow. And if we get bad news, then Casey Williams, he's right there. Him and Jermaine Kearse, man. Be so weird if they were reunited after 5-6 years apart, but sure, that was my main takeaway from tonight. And if you watch this game from a Seahawks fan perspective, Casey Williams was probably the thing that caught your attention the most. Tyrone Swoops looks like he's going to be a very fun player if he actually makes the roster. Again, it is so hard to see a path to the roster for these guys, but bums me out that we can only have 53 guys on this roster. Really sucks, because Tyrone Swoops looks like a phenomenally fun project, and I don't know if he can make the team. Cyril Grayson looks like a fun project, downfield burner from, I think, LSU. I don't see how he makes the team. It's one of those things where you watch these guys and you're glad they're doing good, but you're like, how are they going to make this roster? And finally, offensively, the number one thing that I think a lot of people were really looking at, and I wasn't looking at it too much tonight because I didn't know who was going to play, but we saw some real promise from this offensive line tonight. And before you talk about, oh, it's just the preseason, well, obviously, you're correct on that. It is just the preseason, but we have not seen a good offensive line in the preseason the last couple years, so we couldn't even pass that litmus test the last 2 seasons. This year, at least through one game, Luke Yokel, in my mind, looked pretty good out there. He committed 1 penalty. Other than that, I liked what I saw from him this game. Ethan Posick, he played multiple positions on the offensive line tonight. I really liked what I saw from him. George Fant looked pretty good. I mean, I didn't see him that much, but sometimes that's good. You don't want to see these guys because a lot of the time when you're seeing them, it means they're making stupid plays. And the only thing from this offensive line that caught my eye as being bad, Affetti. And this is starting to become a bit of a drag because we were expecting quite a bit of Affetti when we got the dude. Hasn't happened yet. And Affetti, he missed some blocks tonight. He was overpowered on a couple of plays. Wilson's 1 incomplete pass tonight was because Affetti blew his block. He blew a couple other plays. Really, I'm not discouraged or anything. I'm not going to be discouraged about an offensive line that looked pretty good tonight. I mean, we gave up 2 sacks late in the game. For the most part, we ran the ball pretty well. I'm not going to get discouraged about what I saw from the offensive line tonight as a whole because I saw some good stuff from a couple of guys who were question marks for me, but The one missing piece to having a good offensive line this year for me would be Fetty. I need to see something from him soon because we know Justin Britt's pretty good. We know Glowinski's okay. If Fant and Posick can be, and Yokel can be pretty good or even just average, and you add in Fetty improving, then you've got 6 competent offensive linemen you can pick from. That's what I want. Because, players are going to miss games. Players are going to miss snaps, and you're going to want 6 offensive linemen out there every now and then anyway. I need to see those 6 guys prove that they're at least competent, and I'm starting to see steps forward from most of them. I need to see it from Fetty because he's the guy we spent the draft capital on. So that was what I took away from the offense. Defense, look, they cut through our number 1 starting defense on that first drive, but it's one drive. I'm not going to go crazy about it. Rivers was finding his tight ends for, third down conversions and stuff like that. That's how teams beat us anyway. We know that. Tight ends get wide open against this defense sometimes. But it was, like I said, I think they had a 7 or 8 play drive where they drove down for the touchdown. I'm not going to sweat it. We were missing a couple cornerbacks. Shaquille Griffin was our number 2 cornerback tonight. After that, we had the one play where, God, what's the name of the linebacker? The linebacker who had the pick 6 tonight. Oh, Terrence Garvin was forced to cover a wide receiver down the field. So, of course, he's going to get burned for a long touchdown, which he did. I'm not going to get mad about that. After that, this defense, we were making plays. We were hitting people hard. We were getting pretty good pressure. We were knocking passes down. We were hitting the quarterback. We had 1 pick 6. We almost had a fumble recovered for a touchdown. We've made a couple other turnovers. Defense looked good, and obviously, even though it's backups versus backups, there are still things you look for. Couple things that caught my eye tonight that are important going forward. Number 1, Nazair Jones. There is an opportunity for a dude to step in to replace Malik McDowell. It could be Nazair Jones. Remember that name the rest of the preseason. He looked good tonight. He had 4 tackles, one of them for a loss. He knocked down a pass that was turned into a pick. He hit the quarterback once. Very good stuff. I saw him collapsing the pocket all night tonight. Nazair Jones, that guy could be a thing. Pierre Desir dropped a pick 6. He should have had a pick 6, and he dropped it. Forced the game-ending fumble at the end of the game. The game was over no matter what, but Pierre Desir made a nice play at the end of the game. Let's see here. Christian French had a sack, and he recovered a fumble, nearly got in the end zone. Bradley McDougald, who is going to be our number 3 safety off the bench, our first safety off the bench this year, made a couple nice plays out there. He forced a holding penalty that stalled an offensive drive. Like I said, Garvin had the pick 6, would you like that, which was caused by Michael Wilhoit, who projects to be our number 3 linebacker this year, so it's nice to see those guys make plays, and I would say that would be the whole picture on defense. Obviously, the starters gave up that long touchdown drive. You don't love to see that, but defenses don't even really scheme outside their vanilla stuff in the first week of the season, so I'm not even really going to sweat that. What I am going to sweat is the fact that we had a bunch of backups playing really well and showing like they could be contributors on this team in the regular season. And there were a bunch of them. I just listed some of them. There were more. And finally, wrapping it up, special teams. Blair Walsh made every kick right down the middle. Love it. I'm already on board the Blair Walsh thing. I'm already over my hang-ups with the dude. That dude gets the ball up high. That's all I need to see. Steven Hauschka, what did him in was he kicked the ball way too low. Blair doesn't have that problem. I am in. And the last thing I can say, special team-wise, would be McKisnick. He looked okay. He's the guy who might be returning kicks and punts for us this year because Lockett is too important to do that, and he looked like he could manage it. So that's what I think about tonight. I'll be back next week. See you guys later.